Well, hello, everybody. This is Matt Orozco from Macabre Daily here, and I am very excited to interview our guest, Natalie Victoria, who star in the upcoming horror film MALUM, which is going to be released Friday, March 31st, 2023. Natalie, you may have seen from films such as Deadheads, Extremity, uh, ABCs of Death 2.5, Last Shift, The Lookout, so many more, lots of genre films, lots of non-genre films. So Natalie, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Matt.
I'm excited. As I told Anthony and Jessica a couple days ago, I absolutely loved Malum, and I can't wait for the world to see it. But also, as big fans of Last Shift, it's kind of like you took, a chocolate cake and you made it even better. So, so congratulations on that effort. And I wanted to ask you, how did it felt coming back and being the only character to have a reprising role?
A little weird, a little strange, but it was a really unique opportunity. I probably wouldn't have that opportunity, I would assume, again, So I knew it was going to be a unique situation, and the audition process was a little grueling because the character's reinvented, and I think fans will be happy because she's a little crazier and a little bit of a ride this time versus last time. So if you saw the movie before, it's definitely going to be something different. And not only that, but the entire film, there's just a ton of surprises. And like you said, it's bigger and more reimagined. And I think as an actor, I was really excited for the challenge, and I just love challenges, period. So to try to reinvent something I've already done, I was like, wow, that's going to be hard. I don't know if I could do it. Okay, I'll just say yes. So,
Challenge accepted.
we just dug in and did it. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely tell a difference between the two portrayals, and it's not as and as I shared a couple days ago, it's not as if one is better than the other. Actually, it's more that they're just different. It's almost two
Yes.
different sides of a coin in a way. And your character is in both films somewhat of a harbinger, kind of foretelling what's about to happen. And in both of them, you're convincingly, both you're convincingly like vulnerable and trustworthy, but you also can flip that on a switch. So I was wondering, how do you prepare for that kind of shift from I'm here to help to I might be here to harm you?
It's a great question. That's kind of the ride of Marigold, right? And really the whole movie of Melon. So it's just a lot of like acting class. I mean, honestly, that's what it is. And it's just a lot of different exercises to do that, to learn. I often think of acting like a faucet, because we're, purveyors of emotions and behaviors of humans, and we're trying to portray that in a real way. But in order to make those changes so fast, it's almost like learning how to turn that faucet on at different levels really quickly, or like a light switch. And so it's just honestly, it's a lot of like practice, a
Yeah, I
lot.
mean, I can imagine it's almost like you're trying to somehow manage your own emotions, but you're also doing it on behalf of your character as well. So you kind of enter this. I mean, I feel a lot of actors actually enter some sort of kind of manic state when they're presenting these kind of extreme characters because
100%.
it is just it's hard to, especially if you're not that way in your personal life, to kind of jump into that. Um,
No, you're right. You're right. A manic state is a great, great explanation. It's yeah, you lose yourself. I often say like you just kind of lose yourself and you're like in the moment, and then just kind of let it go, and all the practice and stuff that you've done before, it's kind of like out the window, and then whatever's happening, that the director said calls action, and then it's just off and running. So yeah, I feel really blessed to have the opportunity to be in such a unique situation to basically reimagine this character again. So I hope, honestly, my goal is audience just don't recognize that it's me, that it's the same actress. That would be my goal, I think.
I think for the most part, and I'm gonna jump on the assumption train here, so I don't want to make an ass out of you or me. But I think that for those, unless they're complete nerds like me and they watch The Last Shift before they watch Malum, so they can have like the perspective, I think a lot of folks are going to be surprised by the turn of the character, not just because time has passed, but also because the portrayal, as you said before, it is a little different. And I think ultimately people will find in Malum that it is it is an extension of The Last Shift, but it's also not replacing it in a way so that you can enjoy both equally. But this almost feels like and what I love about MALUM and I love about horror in general is once it gets going, it's like you're on a roller coaster. You know, you kind of have that riding up to the top, and then it just drops you. And so that's I was curious to know like if that kind of tone was present on the set to help kind of you all get into that character, or was it not? Was it much more calm and totally the opposite?
It was honestly really calm. And so that was more of a challenge for me because I knew what I needed to do to like, give Jess what she needed, just to give her that danger and the different levels of danger to kind of really help her character kind of move, into that next scene after. And yeah, so it actually was pretty calm on set, which was, yeah, you got to tune everything out and be like, okay, I'm not calm.
Yeah, the world around me is doing fine, but I have to stay in this really distressed
Yeah.
state. And you've worked on a lot of different mediums. You've been on stage, you've been on film, you're a creative to the fullest extent, having participated in writing and producing. So I'm wondering kind of what fills your cup the most as a creative. Where do you get your most energy? Is it from acting? Is it from writing? Or do they all serve a different purpose for you?
I think creatively they serve a different purpose for sure. I don't really kind of get more out of one or the other. I look at them as um, musical notes, almost in a symphony of storytelling, that they all kind of work together, and there's layers of them. I enjoy writing immensely because it's so insular and it's basically all in your head and exploding, and then taking that and then going to the stage or to even on set with the camera. It's on stage it's like you're giving to the audience, and I enjoy that, or you're taking all that creativity and pushing it out and giving it. And then of course on set with the camera it's like that intimacy, and you're just like giving it just off to the camera, and I enjoy that too. um, Producing is a little bit of a challenge that I've done in the past. But there's certainly some creativity and problem solving, respects for that. But not as much as the writing and acting. So, I mean, I guess I'd say I enjoy the writing and acting the most for sure. And I just love being on set too with other artists. I love like sticking around and watching other people's work. And I'm a sponge. I just like soaking up. You'd think I'd be sick of it by now, but I'm not.
No, but that's what makes people that really have long standing tenure in the industry is that they enjoy all the elements of the process. It's not just they show up to set for their shoot and then they leave. It's the people that
Yeah,
hang around, the people that want to dip their toes in other parts. Just, I mean, whether you succeed at it or you like it is totally separate from the experience you get from actually doing it. And I think that shows up in the work when people have a well-rounded experience. You can tell that they bring something different to everything they do, no matter what participation level they're at.
totally agree. It's about perspective. It's like, and I think it goes for life too, not just,
Yeah.
making movies or TV. Is your perspective and your happiness is dependent on that, so yeah, I'm very grateful to be acting again, and to, be able to have writing, out there, and, hopefully more in the coming years. And I'm just really excited about it. This movie is just so crazy. It's such a ride. I really think fans are just going to love it.
I agree with you full stop, only because horror always does well at the box office, but it has like everything else in our society, it kind of ebbs and flows. And obviously in the times of heightened more kind of social duress, we tend to see a lot more horror films because it represents what's going on more broadly. And I think what we're seeing with films like Malum and more recently The Outwaters as well is that there is this kind of I don't love to use the word insanity, but like there is a kind of an insanity to it that is almost, maybe I'm the odd one here, but a little bit soothing to kind of be in that moment of like extreme tension and then be able to go back out in the real into the world and not have that
Yeah,
same level of concern or fear, but still, get your heart racing a little bit.
I love it. Horror films are like a release, it's like a release that we all need as like human beings. We just need to like, and then we feel better when we come out, which is weird when you explain to people who are not horror fans. They're like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah, I try to get my wife to watch Malum with me, and she's like, "That looks like nightmare fuel. I want no part of that." And I said, "Well, it's only gonna be nightmare fuel when you're watching it. Like, she's a pretty heavy sleeper, so doesn't remember her dreams. So I'm like, it'll be fine. But I'll get her. I'll convince her at some point. And on the note of like kind of horror films, and I can't do my scream voice, but what are your favorite scary movies?
Oh, well, The Thing is definitely up there. John Carpenter's The Thing. I don't know how many times I've seen that, a million. I love that
Never gets old.
movie. Never gets old. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's perfect. It has that danger element, that we were trying to create, I think, with, Malum, and Anthony did such a good job with that. Is just that constant, like, something is wrong, but you don't know what it is. And it just kind of unfolds slowly. So that's definitely at my top. I like those monster kind of horror films, I think more than anything else. But I mean, yeah, that would be my top one. That's why I commented on your poster. It's
Yeah,
just
I
like, it's
mean,
awesome.
I have yet to find anybody that looks at that and says, "Oh my God, I hate that movie." And at that point, I might just, that's a judgment call for me. I say, "Oh well, I still respect you as a person, but not that opinion." But there is, but it is, and in a way, there is a lot you could see kind of elements of what John Carpenter's thing left on the genre in films like Malum, because the work by Russell FX and kind of the magnificent kind of designs. I mean, I don't even want to talk too much about the one because I want people to see and just be surprised, because I often try and check my own kind of behavior when I'm watching certain films, and I notice sometimes my mouth drops a little bit. It's just not like on the floor, but I was like the last 15 minutes just keep going further. So I'm like, this is
Fascinating.
so I think a lot of that shows up, the love and the care for the genre. And as you've been in the industry for such a long time and had so many different kind of roles and capacities, what kind of advice do you want to give to others that are looking to get into the industry, or maybe even those that say, hey, maybe genre work isn't for me but could be a good doorway?
Yeah, and you're correct. Yeah, I've done a million different genres. I think, which is sometimes odd because, there's a group of, wonderful artists who really focus on genre films and don't do anything else. And then there's, weirdos like me who are like, I'll do anything. I just want to act and create, right? My advice, would be just to keep going. It's really simple as that. You're going to hit obstacles, doors are going to close, it's going to seem like you're pushing a boulder up a hill, but ultimately, if the door closes, just climb in a window, don't give up. And that's why it's so important to just keep going. Definitely make sure that you find a good supportive group around you that may or may not be in the industry, that's, your cheerleaders. I think that's so important, especially for artists, because we make ourselves so vulnerable in the work that we do, that we really need that real life support, around us. And then two would be, try to find like a great acting coach or great acting group. Sometimes it can just be a group, that you guys can help each other and constantly practice, because it's important to keep your instrument well tuned. So you're able to kind of jump in things. And, again, just keep going. That's really what it comes down to. Because, you could be at it for a couple years and nothing, and then bam, this amazing role and director comes along, and then you're off and running. And for some people, it's really fast. And there's just no rhyme or reason, really. And there's no direct path. It has to be something, I think, as an artist, that comes from your heart, and you just have to keep pushing it along. And I would say create, just keep creating, create. Yeah.
I think that's really what separates kind of the folks that make this a career for themselves versus those that I can maybe just call hobbyists, is that you have to execute. There's so many ideas, but you just have to go forward with it, and you have to put aside ego and your own kind of self-doubt even, which is why I love what you said about community, because in a world that's constantly kind of trying to both bring us together but separate us, having strong foundations of people around you can make the difference between just that decision of I'm going to do this versus I can't do this. Um,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I want to ask something I ask almost everyone I talk to, which is, in reference to Malum and the work you've done there, what's one of the most rewarding parts of that experience for you? And then what was one of the most challenging things you experienced getting into the role?
Um, I'll start with the most challenging. So the most challenging, uh, as I mentioned, the audition process was pretty intense because it's different than Last Shift, the role, and it's, I don't want to give anything away, but it's more difficult as an artist. And so, I think I definitely suffer from imposter syndrome, and so self-doubt as an artist. And so there's a part of you that says, I don't know if I can do this, because it's just it's so fast, and it's like, how can I, make this believable, and how can we jump into this? And I think it's like overcoming that whole process. And then um but the most rewarding by far is, for me, with everything, and this movie included, is feeling the energy of the other actor after, as it's happening, as you're shooting it, and just kind of giving that out. And then after it's over, and just seeing that, their art come back at you. There's nothing I love more than like passing the ball and the ball being passed back, and really feeling that energy that they're like, wow, that I was able to push that ball back further, and kind of, they pushed me to be better, and we pushed each other to be better, and just that whole process. So I think that's the most rewarding for me. I always love the energy that I get off the other actors, and Jess is amazing, and she is so good. Oh my gosh, everyone's gonna love her in this movie. I do. And I loved her in M. Night Shyamalan's movie. Like I remember like seeing her and thinking, I'm like, that cheerleader. Oh my God, she's so good. I've got to work with her. So this was very exciting for me. And but that's definitely the rewarding part. The challenging is, I think, getting over that hump of, can I do it? And then just kind of working through all that self-doubt to kind of get to that organic part of the character, to kind of bring out all of those notes like a symphony. Um, and try to get somewhat close to what the director's vision is, and that's always the challenge. It's like their vision is here, and you're like here, and you're like, maybe I can get to here. So that's yeah, that would be the biggest challenge, and definitely the most rewarding about the movie. But yeah,
Well, I think
I
your
just rambled,
contribution.
I'm sorry.
No, no, listen, I'm a rambler by default, so I appreciate it. It's I think a lot of folks are getting a lot out of your character and the way it's portrayed, this in Malum, and I'm really excited for everyone to see it. And my last question for you is there anything you have up on the horizon that you're able to share with us that you're working on, genre or
um
not?
I do have a few things I'm working on, but not ready to share yet. But I will say one is definitely a genre, so could be cool for these fans as well. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, Natalie, thank you so much for your time, for your responses, and also for your performances. And just a reminder for everyone watching this that Malum will be released nationwide theatrically, so please get to the theaters and see it. It's on March 31st, 2023. And Natalie, thank you so much again, and best of luck with the rest of the press and the release and all the excitement that comes from the post process.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.